Hello, hello, hello. How are you today? How are you? Hi, Dorothy. Nice to see you. All of a sudden, I look and there's Dorothy. Good to see you. Hi, Gail. Hello, hello. Hi, Patricia. Oh, it's so nice to see you. Yes, and guess who's going to come up and join us first thing? That's why we're going to start a little bit early. I'm going to try this and see if it works again. Yeah. Cat cam. So he gets his airtime first, and then maybe he'll go in the other room and be really quiet. All right, come on. You're such a big one. He is a monster. He is a monster cat. Let me just tell you that. Monster cat. Yes. Hello, hello. Hi, Tori. Hi, CB. All right, scooch back so you can get on the camera. That way everybody will know you're here. Yes. So good to see everybody. Hi, Nancy Dale. Hi, Mama. Mama is listening. Is that Sherry? Is that right? See if I guessed right. Hi, Lori. Hi, Thunder. He just won't leave my hand alone, I'm telling you. Hi, Jean. Sandy. Thank you for putting that at the end of your thing. I think I remembered this time. Shocker. Hi, Christy. Same to you, Nancy. Same to you. Cat's going crazy looking for the sound. Well, it's a unique sound, that is for sure. Oh, he is full of himself. Hi, Anna Maria. my calming, down-to-earth voice. There you go. Well, I'm glad that you feel like that. Hi, Sheila. Hello, Tink. Hi, Angie. Hi, Mina. Oh, if you just wouldn't slobber on me, it would be so nice. Chance, or Charlie, this is Chance up here. Can you see Charlie down there? You just barely see his rear end hanging out. So far, he's being quiet, so we're going to leave him alone. We're going to leave him alone. This one, on the other hand, has to have his 5 minutes of fame. Oh, goodness. Yes. Charlie's on the floor. Charlie's down. You can see his butt hanging out right back there. Can you see it? Right there? That's his rear end. As soon as we are ready to start, I will put them in their room and close the door. Hello, Gail. Here he is. Here he is. I used to bring them on at the end of the show. And honestly, sometimes by the end of the show, I am too pooped to do it, to wrangle cats. Hi, Marilyn. Sometimes I'm just too pooped to wrangle cats. It's a big job wrangling cats. I'll tell you, it's a big job. Because these are big cats. Aren't you? Aren't you? You're a big cat? Mm-hmm. So we're just chatting for a little bit to give everybody a chance to get here and get a seat and get something to drink and whatever. I'm going to show you some painting things before we get started. And then we're actually going to paint. We're going to paint him that we started last week. Yeah, aren't we? Are you going to model for us today? I doubt it. Weightlifting, no joke, Angie, no joke. He is one. I haven't weighed him lately. They are even on restricted food. You know, they are eating less food than they ever have in their lives, and I'm telling you, they are bloomin' fat. I have tried all kinds of weight control things for them. Put your head down here so they can see you. I've tried expensive diets from the vet, weight control things. I've tried, all they do is gain weight. The only thing that caused them to lose weight was when they had their teeth pulled and they couldn't eat for a while. Now that did scare me because Charlie got really, really thin when that happened. Hey, Lena. Miss Lena. Hello. Oh, I'm so sorry, Nancy. Big hugs to you and your husband. I know. It was only a week ago we started that. Seems like forever, doesn't it? Hi, Diane. Miss Lena, how in the world are you? Hi, Noeet. Hey, Jersey. Look at that Jersey crafter. Laura putting all those icons in there. I tell you, she and Dorothy and Krissa, when Krissa comes from Greece, I'll tell you, those three, they know the icons. They know how to get to and use those icons. Cracks me up. Hi, Linda. Who else did I miss? Two Lindas in the house. Did I miss anybody else? Lena, how are you doing? I miss watching you. Hi, Barbara. Oh, yes. Laura, or Lena's wise aunt. Oh my gosh. She ought to be called wise ass aunt. Oh golly. Lena's from Denmark, and she created this character that is so funny. She did a whole... Did you ever get that, Lena, did you ever get that, hi Virginia, did you ever get that stream back on, or that video back on? I know that they gave you some trouble over it. Stuff happens. Lena's lurking a lot so she can get her painting done. She is an incredible painter. Hi, Lauren. Hello, Maria. Yeah, Lena is some kind of artist, let me tell you. Lena is some kind of artist. If you don't follow her, she's not streaming this summer, from what I understand, but if you don't follow her, you really should. So, are you about done? Here's the funniest thing. When I scratch, I don't know if I can get you to see it or not. When I scratch behind his ear, here, there's a magic spot, just like on a dog, except usually it's different than the ears. But he has this magic spot right here behind his ears. See it? It's connected. It's directly connected to that back foot. And then he gets it going, and then he has to just stop and scratch for a while. Yes. Oh, he's such a weird cat. Such a weird cat. And this is my webcam that I'm using that you're seeing him on, so it'll do some wonky focus things. But then my expensive camera does too. Let's see. So we're just chatting for a minute. I know, Laura, I know. Some kind of artist is right and humble. She really is. It's Lena, we're talking about you. Just don't listen. Hey, Chris. There's Chris of the Littles fame. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to follow her on Instagram. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Sue. Yeah, so hello to everyone. Okay, can I put you in the other room now, do you think? And Muppet's ulcer is all better. We had an ulcer in her eye for a while, and so we finally got that taken care of. It's all better. Without a trip to the vet, I was able to do the same stuff I did the last time with our golden retriever, and thank goodness I had taken notes. And I thought, all right, I'm going to try it, because taking her to the vet right now is just not much of an option. It's Lina, and it's the same. I think it's the same with the numbers behind her name. It may be the whole thing, Miss Linux 2010. I think it is. Okay, Laura. So yeah, we got the ulcer taken care of. Now I got cat hair going. Yeah, the ulcer is taken care of. I am not a vet. I am in no way telling you what to do if you have a dog with an ulcer in the eye. I'm only telling you what took care of it for my dogs. And the first one, the golden retriever, we spent hundreds of dollars on her eye. Hundreds of dollars, including multiple contact lenses in that eye, and drugs and eye drops and the cone of shame, the whole bit, and the thing would just come back. It would kind of get better, and then it would come back. Kind of get better, come back. And so what I finally did, she was an elderly dog, so what I finally did with her, I have a book by Dr. Pitcairn, he's a natural vet, he's a veterinarian who uses a lot of more holistic and kinds of natural remedies and stuff. And so I looked in there because I was desperate to try to help this dog and get her out of the cone of shame. And hi, Mary Beth. Hi, Janice. Hi, everybody. Hi, Tracy. Lots of Tracys. Lots of Lindas. And let's see, what else? So anyway, I did what Dr. Pitcairn suggested in his book, and because I thought, we're not getting anywhere with the conventional stuff, where she's just miserable and having to wear. She wore that cone for weeks and weeks. It was awful. Hi, Marion. So anyway, I did what Dr. Pitcairn suggested in his book, and within like 2 weeks, it was all gone and didn't come back. So when it started with Muppet, I thought, all right, I'm just going to go straight to his book. She seems to be fine. Hello, Patricia. Okay, are you ready to go in the other room? Get off my desk? Okay, let's see if we can get going. Then I got to wash my hand. Because there's cat dander. He likes... Do you see him eyeing this cup? Do you see this? Do you see this? Guess what he likes? This cat likes Starbucks. Can't leave a cup anywhere because he will get in it. He gets in the trash. He turns the trash over. He gets the cups out. He will drag the cups out like a dog. Yes. Anyway, let's put him away. Okay. Wish me luck. I have to wrangle 2 cats now. I'll be right back. Come here, Charlie. Come here. Come here. Come here. No, don't run from me. Don't run. I'm coming back. Hang on. All right, go. And for any of you that saw me bend over and with a paper towel. Apologies. Yeah, Charlie left me a gift. And I'm barefoot in the studio. There's nothing quite like having cat puke squish up between your toes. Not so much, people. Not so much. Anyway, all right. Such is my life. Yes, Dorothy, it's the air conditioner. You're gonna have to just deal with it, because I cannot handle the heat and humidity without it. Just can't. Hello, Ina. These cats. Guaranteed, he hasn't had an upset tummy for quite a few days, and that's a recipe for disaster, because you know it's coming. One of my former vets said, we will do something here in a minute, I promise. One of my former vets said to me, he had cats, and he said, it's just a normal occurrence when you have cats. He says, don't worry about it. It's like, okay. Anyway, crazy. I know, crazy. Dorothy's heating turned on. Oh my goodness. Oh. Wait, I missed what was exciting about Gail. Oh, new puppy. Oh, wow. Good job. Good job. New puppy. New baby. It's a lot of work, but you know, there you go. Hi, Robin. Okay. All right. Let's get started. Before I get somebody getting all upset because I haven't done anything, or coming in and saying, are you ever going to do anything? You know, here's the deal. Sometimes when you come here, I do something. Most of the time I do something. But we're just here to hang out. I give you a place to hang with me. Okay. So here's the quote of the day. Here's the quote of the day. I think this was from somebody at Laura's chat, at Jersey Crafters chat, but I cannot remember. I didn't write down who put this in the chat, but I wrote the quote down because it made me laugh so hard. Because I get this question a lot. You know, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? And it's like, I don't have to have a plan. You know? I just don't have to have a plan. Right? This is the best quote. Write it down. This is a grandmother talking to a granddaughter. The grandmother says to the granddaughter, what are you drawing? Because she was, and I don't know how old the kid was, but she's drawing away. Grandmother says, what are you drawing? The little girl says, I don't know. I'm not finished yet. And if you're in the chat and you're the one responsible for this, tell me. I'm telling you, I laughed till I was on the floor. I wrote it down. It's like, that is going in my journal, because that is the best line ever. It's the best line ever. Best line ever. Chris, you're too kind. Was it in your chat, Laura? Do you know? Is that funny? Oh my gosh, that was so funny. I just thought that was the best line ever. It's going in my journal. I wrote it down. I've written it down like 3 places. It will get into my journal. Believe me. It's the best, isn't it? It's the best. And so, yeah, Robin says, and sometimes even when she's done, she still doesn't know. I'm not an abstract kind of person, clearly. I do things that you can look at and go, oh, that's a flower. Oh, that's a vase. Oh, that's a cat. Oh, that's a funny human. I do things like the abstract is not my forte at all. Not even sort of. I respect people who do. It's just not me. I don't do it well. Never have done it well. Because when I get done, if I do something that's abstract and get done and I go, well, it's done. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I need to be able to call the thing something, So, yeah. Anyway. Is that funny or what? Oh, that made me laugh. It just made me laugh. Kids rock. Oh, Laura doesn't know. Okay. Yes, that too. That too. They were talking about in Laura's chat. Laura does impromptu streams, so she doesn't have a set schedule. So you need to subscribe to her channel because that way you'll be able to catch her live sometimes. And they were talking about not purchasing, not buying stuff, and using stuff up. And somebody in the stream, and again, I don't know who it was, wrote, what was it? See, what was it? Lena just wrote it in, then I lost it. Oh, forgive me, Father, for I have purchased. If that offends anyone's sensibilities or is sacrilegious to anybody, apologies. I just thought it was so funny. Hey, Beth. So funny. Hey, Anne. Anne, that was you. Were you the one that did the grandkid quote? Was that you and your grandkid? It was? Okay. All right. I'm putting it in there. That was yours, Anne, right? You got to, the chat goes further, and so sometimes, oh, Robin does live screams. I don't remember which one Anne said. She said one of them. You got to give me more information. It was the grandkid one or the purchased one. Yeah, and Ann Laura, I'm not sure. The father one. Okay, gotcha. So we still don't know who the grandmother and grandchild are. Granddaughter. Oh, that's funny. Angie says her mom is addicted to Amazon Fresh since she found out she can have her junk food delivered. That's a riot. Oh my goodness, that's a riot. Yeah, so Ann Lahr is started streaming, so she's brand new. I don't know if I'm subscribed to her channel or not. I gotta check that out. I don't know. But the word on the street is she tells great stories and she's funny. So there you go. Okay, so let's get started. I haven't finished my coffee yet, but we'll save it. I can always nuke it and warm it up a little bit. That is true. That is true. Hi, Nashwa. I hope I'm saying your name right. I don't know. I try to do people's names correctly, but I don't always make it. Anyway, VIP class for all VIP members of HowToGetCreative.com. Your class is not, okay, listen, is not tomorrow, because it's a holiday. So I did send out an email to remind you about that. It is next Saturday. Okay, next Saturday. Hello, Mary. And I'll also, just as a little heads up, August is going to be pushed a week later than normal, also because I'm going to have a guest here inside my home. First time in a long time. All right, so that's that. All right, let's talk about Rosemaling, shall we? I dug out some stuff that I thought you might want to see. I don't remember exactly how the conversation started last week, but I think it was because Signa was here. And Signa, Mary, are you streaming tonight? Inquiring minds want to know. Usually the Marriottier streams 7:30 on Friday nights, as well as dark 30. It's some obscene time in the mornings. If somebody held a gun to my head, I could not stream in the hours of the morning or night that Mary streams. The only way I could do that is if I stayed up all night to do it. And then I'd make no sense. That would make no sense. Hi, Tanya. Would make no sense. Anyway, Signa, I think, was here. She's from Norway, I believe, as I recall. And I think that's where the discussion somehow came to be. I don't remember. As I tell you, about every week. I've slept since then. Okay, did Mary say yes, that she was streaming? Thanks, Barbara. Okay. Yeah, 7:30 p.m. Dark 30 is right. God. Hats off to you, Mary. I couldn't do it. Okay. So anyway, we're talking about, somehow the conversation turned to Rosemaling, which is a Norwegian folk art. And so I showed a couple of pieces last week that I had done. I found the one that I thought I was going to show you, so I have that to show you. But I thought I would show you some of the... Okay, these are books that I have had for years and years and years, and I just thought I would show you some of the stuff. Okay? Thanks, Lena. So, this is from a magazine of some kind. I don't even know what, because it's open to this. It's open to this page only. Come on, don't be obnoxious. There we go. So this is a Rosemaling design. Okay, this is Rosemaling. This is a Raglan style Rosemaling design. You can tell, I think it's Raglan, or there's three kinds. There's Raglan, there's Telmark, and there's another one, and I forgot the third one. Anyway, don't assume that what I'm telling you is the absolute truth, okay? Don't assume that what I'm telling you is the absolute truth. We're going way back in the memory bank here. But anyway, this is Rosemaling. This is a book, a big old book. And with lots of designs in it. Back when I was doing this was all done with oils. I don't know if they're still done with oils. But as you can see, there's not a lot of color inspiration. There's a little bit in the back here. Here we go. Yeah, the plates are in the back. Color plates are in the back. And this is Raglan style, R-O-G-A-L-A-N-D. Raglan or Raglan, I don't know. We always called it Raglan. But they were done, back then they were done in oils, and the Raglan style was all symmetrical. So, very symmetrical designs. All done in oil paint. Stroke work. For the people who are really good at it, they would load the brush. I even have an old palette. I have no idea why I saved this old palette. I'm going to show it to you though. But you would load the brush, and then in pretty much one motion, you would put the design on. I never was good enough to be able to do that. So I would have to sort of imitate the style. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was one of the things that really caught my attention. And when I was painting, and I loved this sort of, it's a folk art style, but it's kind of an elevated folk art. And I especially loved the symmetrical, but man, was it hard, because you'd go one way and then you had to be able to go the other way. I wasn't ambidextrous, and so it was quite challenging. This is reminiscent of what my kitchen cabinets were like, except it was not the symmetrical type designs. It was the asymmetrical. They're balanced, but asymmetrical. You'd have to search that, Barbara. I think a lot of it is the country of origin. The Rosemaling was traditionally Norwegian, I believe, and the toll painting covered a big, broad category, and I think it was more, I think it just basically covered a lot more toll painting, or a broader scope, is what I'm trying to say. Where this is very definitely stroke work, and it's very characteristic, and has very characteristic colors. So, anyway. So that's that. Here's another one, just so you can see this woman, Vi Thody, and she wrote this one too. She was kind of the big guru person I don't know if she lived in the United States or what. I don't remember the story. I have no idea what that's about. Somebody copied something and gave it to me. Who knows? Who knows? But she was kind of the authority that we all followed back in the day. But you can see the colors are not super bright. They tend to be muted. Even the blues look like those are really bright blues. They're only really bright because they're against other colors. And they painted a lot on things like this, boxes, trunks. Well, they painted a lot of stuff, but it was mostly, I think, usable kinds of items. Here's another one. This one is the same woman by Thody again. So this was an introduction. Oh, look! Graphite paper stuck in this book. It's going to go in the box, in the envelope. Do you have any idea how many years that has been stuck in this book? Probably 35. Okay. So here, these are like the practice strokes, okay? And this is how we'd learn. So you would brace your hand, and you had to get the brush loaded just right. You had to do it in oil paint. If anybody can do it in acrylic, hats off to them. Because you'd have to get the paint loaded, the brush, just exactly right. And then you had to get that, you know, that wrist action. And so these are the kinds of strokes that were involved in Rosemaling. Okay, and you can see everything is one way and the opposite way, right? Mirror imaged. Yeah, and then there was lots of, these little things were, this was not a traditional comma stroke. That's very typical in toll painting or folk art kinds of things, like Pen Dutch folk art. That's a comma stroke. A comma stroke is painted. I'll see if I can demonstrate without paint. A comma stroke, you would load the brush, a round brush, and then you would put it down, and you had to have a good brush, and you'd wiggle it, and then you'd draw it up, and as you're drawing it up, you lift up the brush, and you end up with this little skinny tail on it. Well, these little guys right here, these were done with a special brush, and I don't know that I even have that brush. I kept it for years, but a little tiny brush, and you load the brush, and you could double load it with two colors, and you would draw the tail first, and then you get to where you want to end, and then you set the brush down and lift up, and that's how those little things were made. Okay, so this thing was different than traditional comma strokes. These were done like that. You can tell because, well, I don't know if I can tell you how you can tell, but anyway, they were different. It's quite interesting. So this is what I was going to show you. This is a palette that I have kept all of these years later. So the first thing you do when you're going to do Rosemaling is you have to spend time mixing the colors. All of these colors are mixed and mixed and mixed and mixed. Okay, like it is, nothing was ever straight out of the tube, ever. It was all very mixed. This brown, or this blue, and this one might have had 3 or 4 different colors of paint mixed into it. I don't even know why I saved that, but I did. So, but the flower forms all are somewhat similar, and yet they can be trimmed out differently. And it's just like any other art form. The artist develops their own style. This is kind of similar to a Pennsylvania Dutch folk art kind of style, or toll painting style, but they're very unique. Lots of scrolls, lots of scrolls. Okay, so you can see the steps. So here's where you're headed. So there's a base coat, and then there was a highlight added, and there was a shading element added, and all of that was done, and then the trim work. But all of that was done in a stroke. Okay, so you went, and then you came back and you side loaded with the light color and then with the dark. It's quite a deal. Hi, Hermie. Hi, Kathy. So, but see, look at the colors. Those are the background colors. Very muted kinds of things. And then lots of mixing instructions and all that. It was quite a deal. It was really a deal and a half. So anyway, there's that. So as you can tell, I collected, and you can tell by looking at these how old these are. I collected pretty much all the books that I could because I was so in love with the technique. So here are colors. I haven't looked at these in so long. So anyway, there's that one. Norwegian Rosemaling in America. So that's the author of the book, apparently. It's been so long, but these kinds of things, you know, Christmas ornaments and stuff like that. Oh no, it's a collection of different artists. Anyway, interesting different designs. And I mean, people would practice on this for years to get good at it. Look at this. That is kind of what my kitchen cabinets look like. That is a Telmark style because it's not equal from one side to the other. So that's probably where the inspiration came from for my kitchen cabinets that I did. Only did the tops of the cabinets. It was a lot of doors, and then I finally gave up. Let's see. They did lots of trunks. And also lots and lots of trays and tops. These are plates, or, you know, that's what they call them. They're wooden. Bowls. Lots of decorative items. Anyway. So this is just eye candy, just so you can kind of see what that was about. And then this guy, Gary Albrecht, he was quite a Rosemaler. I don't know if I can turn to his page 4, it says. It'd help if I read it, wouldn't it? So that is Gary at work there, and some of his pieces. So once you got to where you knew the different artists, you could identify their particular style. And look at that. I mean, that's typical of lots of people would work for years to develop their Rosemaling style and hone it to perfection. There is a museum in Decorah, Iowa, which is quite a few hours away from us, but we finally went there one year and I got to go through the museum and see all the stuff. Oh, that's so cool. Let's see, these are all ornaments. I never did do any of these, but I bought the book. So anyway, okay, so this is my folder of stuff. Why I still have this after all these years. So this is how we would do stuff. We would mix up paints and then swatch the mixes on the paper. I don't know why we thought that was gonna keep them for reference, because you can't match any of that stuff. Especially now after all these years. Okay, so this design right here, that's the one that I showed you last week, which is this. So this is a card, holds 2 decks of cards. So that's what this is, this design right here. So fun fact, I taught both of my parents toll and decorative painting. No, I don't paint any of this on his Santas. It's first of all, they're rough. You have to have an incredibly smooth surface to be able to do Rosemaling. So, yeah, no. I've done some stroke work on some of his pieces, but they're just little bits and pieces. Anyway, I taught both of my parents tole and decorative painting, and I'd forgotten about this, to tell you the truth. This is a piece that my mom did. This was in 81. She was 70 when she did this. So this is, I don't know if I can show you these so you can see them. This was mine. This was my mother's. She did a really good job. Her hands were getting a little shaky then. This is not perfect on mine either, by any means. But I thought it was kind of interesting. I thought I would show you that. So I'd totally forgotten about it, to tell you the truth, until this whole discussion came up. But anyway, that is, you would work out things on patterns and test things out. I wish I knew what kind of paper this was. This paper, it's like a really heavy vellum. I don't know what it is, honestly, but this is testing, and playing around with some of the little dot details, that little thing that I was showing you. And so what we would do is we would put this over the design, because it was smooth enough that you could paint on it, and the paint would slip on it enough, and so you could practice on this kind of paper. It's like a really heavy. Hey, Norma. Hi, Sophia. Yeah, it really was. It was very special. I was glad to discover that I had hers. I really didn't know whether I had any of that or not. So these are all different. These were all from my cabinet doors. That's what these are. So this was one of the designs. So this is the design for my cabinets, and then so that would be on one door, and then it would be flipped over on the facing door. And some of these doors were monsters. Some of them were big doors, let me tell you. And then sometimes people would come in and they'd ask me, where I got wallpaper like that. Where did I get wallpaper like that? Yeah. The tape on this is so old. So old. Yeah, I can't even get that open. Anyway, there is one of the big, I don't know that you can even tell, but that was one of the super big ones. Anyway, that's what all of those are. Those were all, I didn't even know I'd kept all that from the kitchen cabinets that I painted. This was another thing that we used to do too. Oh, this was a design. I was going to do a spool cabinet, and I worked out the design, and I painted part of it and didn't like it, so I sanded it off and painted over it. But this was a design that was going to go on. It was a cabinet that Frogman made. Can you see how big that is? So that was a design that I came up with. And let's see. And this was for, I don't know, the sides of it or something. So here's something you got to know about me. Here's something you got to know about me. My favorite thing is to work out how something's going to look. I have no compulsion whatsoever to finish it. Nothing. No compulsion. Don't need to see it finished. Just need to have it worked out in my head. Just need to see it worked out in my head. Finishing up projects is a very challenging thing for me to do. It's true. That is a secret about me. So, anyway, Okay, so that is all that. Another thing we would do is this is canvas paper. So this is canvas paper like I've shown you before that we've done different things on, except this is heavy canvas paper. And so what I would do is paint it with the background paint and then work out the colors on top of the background paint, because you could have everything all worked out the way you thought it was going to be, but when you put it over the background paint, it might not work at all. Okay, so I will sort all that stuff later. I do have the example of Raglan style Rosemaling here. Give me 1 second to put this stuff away. What a mess. What a mess that is. So this is the other piece I showed you last time. So this is the same design as what this is, exact same design, but because it's on a plate, you know, it gave me an opportunity to put the border design around it. So this is Telmark style, and this is Raglan style. This was the piece I thought I had hanging on the wall when it was this one. So this is Raglan. So when you look at this, it is very symmetrical from side to side. Now it's different from top to bottom, but it is still symmetrical. But those colors, the oranges and stuff, look like they're really bright, but when you see them on the palette, they're really, really dulled down colors. So this was introduction to Raglan style painting. Very, very elementary. Very elementary. But I absolutely fell in love with all the Rosemaling. Not that I was that good at it, but I sure loved it. I loved it. Oh, Mina has a Telmark plate. That's cool. Very cool. Yeah, exactly. And some of you I've said this several times when I was talking to you about me learning how to paint. Okay, give me just a second. Let me get it to come in here and let the camera, give the camera time to focus. When I was learning how to paint, it was all with oil paints. That's how I learned to paint. That's why I kind of fumble around with acrylic, because it's not my forte. And when I started learning to paint, I was a young mother. My son was very small, and I mean, he was really little. And I painted this, brought it home, and I thought, oh, he's going to love this because it's and I've painted this raccoon on I don't know how many different things. Brought it home, and I thought he's going to love that, because when he was little, Ranger Rick was the big, you know, there were magazines. I don't know if there still are or not, but I mean, he had sweatshirts and he had all different kinds of things that were Ranger Rick. He had a Ranger Rick puppet, hand puppet, that was adorable, and his puppy, his puppy worked for old Ranger Rick over. Anyway, I brought this home from the paint class. I think this was the first one I did. And I brought it home from paint class. Of course, it's oil paints. And he was about 3, yeah, probably 2.5 to 3 when I brought this home. And I was so excited to show it to him, because I thought he's going to just love that. And because I expected him to say, Ranger Rick, you know. I said, look, what is it? And he said, it's wet. It's wet. Ranger Rick is alive and well. Oh, good. Yeah, so, yeah, he said, it's wet, because I had spent so much time teaching him not to touch things. Don't touch. Yeah, he wasn't even going to go there. He was just going to make sure that I understood it was wet. So, yeah, so much fun. I haven't seen him pop in the chat. If he were here, I'm sure he would tell you about that, because he probably remembers. It's wet. Okay. Shall we do something? Whoops, that was, hold on a minute. That was like way, that's very, very close. No one needs to see this journal that close up. That Ranger Rick piece, or that little raccoon piece that I showed you, just so you know, is 3.5 inches in diameter. So that's why we were in so close. He's so cute. Oh, God, that kid was so cute. He's still cute. We'll flesh him out. If he's here, we'll flesh him to the surface. He has a birthday coming up here before long. Oh, yeah. Okay, so back in the journal. Oh, let me get the cover off. He was my baby, and I had 2 at home, 13 years apart. Yeah, that was a trick, people. That was a trick, because stepchildren don't necessarily appreciate step parents. Any of you that ever had one of those know what I'm talking about. Okay. Oh, Chris is teaching her son how to drive. Oh, God bless you for that. Okay, so here is what we did last week. This is a Chance. This is a portrait of Chance. Similar style to what this is, except this is in a journal where the other one was on a canvas. And so the background, just to review, the background on this was paper napkin, a single layer of paper napkin. And these napkins I found on sale someplace. I liked them because they were paintbrushes and tubes of paint. And so that's what the background is. And then this is just to review. What I took were several pictures of Chance, who opened our show today. He opened our show today, and I had different pictures of him, different poses, and I played around enlarging them and doing different experiments with them. And then what I did was I transferred them on to tracing papers. So I had this one with all the detail, well, more detail. And then this one where I simplified it a lot. So that's the one we used and put in the journal. And then from there, all that we got done last time was, after all that, is painted to his eyes and his glasses and his bow tie. Okay, and all of that's metallic. His eyes are not metallic, but the glasses and the bow tie are all metallic. And then after the stream was over, I came in with white gesso, and I painted a coat of white gesso around everything, so that I might get a little bit better block out of some of the napkin image in the background. And I don't care if some of it comes through, that's fine, but I just didn't want, I didn't want all of it coming through. All right, so let's play with this and see what we do. I am not an expert painter of acrylics by any means. So that's why it's in an art journal, because we're just going to play with it and see what happens. You need a Siamese. Prepare yourself. If you need a Siamese, prepare yourself to have to listen to them. All right, so I'm just working with black and white images here. So I'm going to use this as reference. And so that's what I'm going to have over here. And so I've just kind of simplified shapes and everything, but I'll just kind of have this hanging out over here. Oh, thanks, Barbara. Thank you. All right, so I'm just going to work with inexpensive acrylic paints because I have never mastered tube acrylics. Some people do so well with tube acrylics. I'm not one of them. And so I'm just going to work with craft paints in different colors. Now, one of the things that happens is when you, at least this was my experience, when I started learning to paint with oils and mixing color, and I got really pretty efficient at mixing colors with oil. It is not that way with acrylics that I discovered. Like I said, I'm not super experienced. I've never had a class in acrylic paint. But I had a lot of trouble being able to mix colors, and by the time I got the color mixed, half of it was dry. So I just learned to just adapt, and I just went using craft paints, and then I have learned to mimic the look of oil painting that I liked. So there you go. All right. Abyssinians have musical meows. Oh my goodness, how fortunate. Siamese have very noisy meows. They do, especially Chance. He is totally obnoxious. Totally obnoxious. All right, so we're going to see where this goes. I mean, if it goes horribly bad, I'll just black it out with black gesso and call it a day and move on, or let it sit till tomorrow. Sometimes I like it better after it sits for a while. So what I'm going to use to mop up my mess is the innards from napkins. So I've got that. I'm just using inexpensive paint brushes. Nothing magic about the brushes. I'm going to get one more size here, just so I have, because I usually try to have I didn't for a long time. I didn't like these angled brushes, and now I do. You know, we all learn, don't we? We all learn. Okay. Sorry about the throat clearing. When I talk nonstop, my throat just goes a little wonky. Hi, Bonnie. I brighten your day? Oh, if you're talking about me, I hope so. And I'm glad. And I'm glad. So use a little bit of glycerin to show the slow the acrylic process of drying. Oh, that's a good idea. Very good. All right, so what I've got is some cheap brushes. I have in contrast to that, I had very expensive oil painting brushes. They were all red sable brushes. They were very expensive. I took very good care of them. These, on the other hand, because I'm painting with acrylic, when they get too bad, I put them in another pile for junk and get new ones. Yeah, so anyway. Hi, Vanessa. Bonnie, you're very sweet. So this is just this is a DVD or a CD container. This is the top, and I like this for water because it holds a lot. And the other thing that I like about it is that it's got a wide base, and so when I set it on my table, it doesn't stand a chance of tipping over. I see people using little bitty cups of water, and I'm like, I could not do that. I could not do that. That would be bad news for everybody around here. Okay. Yeah, it's bad news. Bad news. Okay, so I'm going to put out some little bits of paint. This one is Delta Ceramcoat Mudstone. I don't know if anybody's interested in what the color names are. I'm just flying by the seat of my keister here. This is Quaker Gray, so we're going to put some of that out. And this is Drizzle Gray, so we'll put a little bit of that out. I do have some white in case I need it. I'm just about out of white paint. Shocker. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, that is not good. This one is Americana Neutral Gray. And then I have some Lamp Black. So I'm going to put some of that out. Okay, so those are the colors that I have out, and they will stay pristine like that for a very short period of time. And then I have a little bit of this blue, which is turquoise blue. Same blue, kind of similar to what's going on in here. So if I need that, I'll get it. All right, so let's start and see what happens, shall we? Let's see what happens. I have no idea. All right. All right, so let's go. Let's go for it and see what we can do here. So I'm going to start, and I'm just going to put in some color, and I traced this on using graphite paper on the page first. Then I went over it with, I think, Sharpie. And then I put the napkin on top of it. So that was how this came to be. That was how it came to be. So I'm not here to teach you anything about painting with acrylic. If you want to know how to paint with acrylic, you need to go take a class with Kathy Arbor. She is masterful when it comes to that kind of thing, as well as many other mediums. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to work as quickly as possible. To just get some color in here and try to see. This is where it becomes challenging because I'm trying to talk and paint at the same time. If this was a Santa Claus, I can do that with my eyes closed, but I've not painted this before. So the answer to this is chat amongst yourselves. Chat amongst yourselves. Once I get a base coat of color in, then I can come back and I can play around with adding shading and so forth. And we may only get part of him painted today. I don't know. It's anybody's guess. Anybody's guess. And as you can tell, I'm not watching the chat, because if I start watching the chat, what's going to happen is I will be painting who knows where. So I'm just looking at the image that I've got over here and just looking at the lights and darks. And then I'm just picking up various colors of these grays that I put on my palette. As soon as I get down to the glasses here, then I'll be able to stop and look at the chat for a second. And this is the kind of thing that I can fart around with for a very long time. which is probably a good thing that it is acrylic, because you have a very limited, at least in my experience, you have a limited amount of working time, and then the paint starts drying. And once it starts drying, then it's going to do things like pull right back off the page, which is one of the reasons that acrylic paint and I always had a kind of a love-hate kind of relationship going on. We definitely had a love-hate thing happening. And you have to like something. Like, I love to sew, right? You have to like something in order to invest the time in it to get good at it. All right. Somehow I got my brush into black. And I ended up most of the time being so frustrated by acrylics that, you know, I would paint what I had to paint and then move on. All right, so all I'm after here is just to kind of get just kind of a general shapes. And as I said earlier, I don't mind if some of that background shows through. And when your paint starts dragging, like it's going to do right here, you got to stop. Yeah, as she keeps painting. You got to stop. Because if you don't stop, it's going to start pulling back off. Because that's what it does. Okay, so now I can stop and talk to you for a minute. Fiddle fart? Oh, yeah. All right, let me go back and check the chat here. Hey, Jamie. All right, let me stick my brush in water for a minute. You wonder why he's called Chance? Well, his original name, the cats came to me from another owner, and their names were Frank and George. These two, they were named Frank and George. And to me, that just sounded like country singers, and Siamese cats did not seem like country singers. You know, just didn't fit. Charlie got his name first, and he got his name Charlie, which is not a great deal different than Frank or George, quite honestly. But he just was always just a good old boy. And I don't know, so he got named Charlie Boy right off the bat. I guess I needed to name them myself so that they felt like my cats, you know, so I could bond with them. And Chance was so scared. He was so terrified. He hid for, I don't know, days. That cat hid from me. I mean, days, like I couldn't find him. He hid from me that much. And so I ended up, when he finally came out of hiding and he finally took a chance on me, that's how it got stuck. You know, the name stuck because he took a chance. So anyway, that's how that happened. Yeah. Hi, Malia. Send in the search crews. Got ya. So yeah, fiddle fart. That's what you do. That's what you do. Okay. Tracy paints horses in acrylics because oils are too difficult. You know, I think it all depends on what you start with. I don't do oils anymore. I think I have one small set of student grade oils now because eventually they all dry up, you know. Oh gosh, you guys are too much. You cracked me up. He did. He gave me a chance. So that's how he got his name. He took a chance. All right, so let's go on down. Let's continue because I got to a stopping place so I could stop a little bit there. All right, let's go on down the page here and see what we can do now. Let's see. All right, he's got light color around his eyes. So I'm gonna put some light color around his eyes here. I'm just gonna work on, and see, this is where I get myself in trouble, because if you do something like the eyes first, which I did, then it becomes challenging not to paint into them. Any hoot. And I'm also keeping this headed one direction. Like, I'm not moving the book, which under normal circumstances I would be moving the book around. So that I got it, so I got the angle so that it best suited my hand. But in an effort for you guys to be able to see what I'm doing, I'm going to try to leave it in this same position. So what I do is I always work with a damp brush, and that way, and it's just damp, it's not dripping. And the reason I do that is so that I can pick up, erase out the places where I slop it over. And I can see here that I painted a little too much gesso in the background, so I'm going to have to come back. So we're going to do that in just a minute, and I'm going to paint this tube of paint color back in there because I got a little carried away painting gesso. I did that last Friday night, so clearly I was tired. Clearly I was tired. So we're going to stick that color back in there here in just a second. I just want to get this base coated. I can always come back in and paint the eye color back in on top if I need to. All right, let me get a green color to mimic that. And let's paint that tube of paint back in there, because otherwise he's going to look like he has one fat head spot. We can't have that now, can we? Oh, that's really nice, Lori. Yeah, anytime I'm painting, I'm just using a couple of colors of green paint here so that so that perhaps I can get a reasonable facsimile. So I've squirted out a couple dollops of green so I can get a reasonable facsimile of the tube of paint here. So I'm just going to brush mix here for a minute. All right, looks reasonable. most of the time when I'm painting for the Santa Clauses for Claus Man, most of the time I have a brush in my mouth, and I often have two brushes in my hand, going back and forth. Yeah. But one of them is always damp, and that's my cleanup brush. It has to be the right, it has to be the exact right kind of damp too. It can't be super damp, because if it's super damp, you just make a mess out of everything. I'm just trying to get this color to be what I want it to be, so that it will kind of look like what it's supposed to look like. And so anybody that looks at this will go, will never know that I screwed that up. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of green out here, because I kind of scuffed the napkin too. So anyway, good enough. Good enough. Moving on. Hi, Amber. Okay, so back to the task at hand. Let's put in his other eye on this side. See what happens. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, he has a lot of light color over here on this. For me, I have to work with damp brushes. Otherwise, the paint doesn't move for me, which entirely could be the fact that I'm using craft paint. Could totally be the responsibility of it being craft paint. And I frequently pick up just a drop of water, just the teeniest, tiniest little drop of water. And if you get too much, then you gotta go get more paint. See, that's too much. You probably can't see that, but it's a little too much. Anyhoot, we're gonna stick it in here. When he's all finished, I probably am going to come back with the Sharpie or something and re-outline him, because I don't want him to look too realistic. I still want him to look kind of cartoon-ish. Kind of cartoon-ish. So how are you guys doing today? Are you having a good day? He's got a lot more dark gray down here, but we'll put that in later. At least if I can just get kind of the idea. Ooh, this is a big brush for this little area. Big brush. One of the things that I learned, all right, so when in doubt, just stick it in there and then come back and clean it up. One of the things I learned back when I was doing oils, lady that was teaching us, it was to use the biggest brush you could possibly use for any given area. So yeah, that's how that came to be. So sometimes it gets me in a little bit of trouble because I really should just stop and get a smaller brush. Instead, I will fiddle around with the big brush because I'm too lazy to get a smaller one. Anyway, it's good enough. Oh, the words to my ears. Good enough, moving on. Good enough, moving on. Okay, so we'll come back and take some of that yellow out when we get a little further along. Going well for you, Patricia? Good. I know, isn't that great to shoot? That's just the best. When I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, I love that. Video editing, good for you, Laura. Okay, so his nose is pretty dark, so we're gonna come in here with a pretty dark gray, itsy tiny bit of water, just enough to get it to move a little bit more. His little old nose is very dark. Fortunately, his glasses kind of block out some of the, fortunately or unfortunately, block out some of the detail around his eyes. All right, don't go back in there yet. Do not go back in there yet. Okay, we're going to put a little light gray. I have a fan going, so it is not helping my acrylic paint at all. Are you guys enjoying watching what I'm doing with this, or is this just boring to you? It's okay if you tell me it's boring. Hi, Christine. I don't know. It's just what I learned. It's what I learned to do is to use the biggest brush possible. It's what I was taught. You could watch for, okay, all right, okay, all right, well, we'll keep going. I think it's kind of fun to watch something emerge from the depth. All right, I've got to change this a little bit. Just mostly because I can't stand the way that color is looking. Acrylics are funny things. It is not like, for me with oils, what I saw was, whatever I put down generally dried to be what was accurate. Acrylics, not so much. You have to let it dry, and then you have to look at it and you go, oh, no, that's not what I wanted. And come back in and adjust and readjust. And okay, now he looks like he has two eyes that belong to the same cat. That's good. Good for you, Laura. Yeah, damp brush is the ticket, man. That is the ticket. But the key is you got to make sure that you keep the damp brush separate from everything else, because once the damp brush gets paint in it, it's toast. You got to switch to a different damp brush. Yeah. All right. So his little Medley thing right here. I'm just gonna paint it. I was gonna say I was gonna take artist license and make it a different color, but you know what? Let's just paint it. Can always change it. His little Medley thing. What's that thing called? Looks like a muzzle to me. That's what I would call it on a dog, a muzzle. Not a Medley thing, but a muzzle. So the word on the street here where I live is that they're going to put a mask ordinance. They're going to enact a mask ordinance where you are required to wear a mask. But kindly, they said that they wouldn't force you to wear a mask when you were in your car or outdoors. I'm like, ugh. I don't even want to get into that discussion of some of the lunacy of some of that, but anyway. So I'm still waiting to hear what their what the final upshot on that is. That has to go through our city council and blah blah blah. If my head gets in the way, I apologize. But there's a limit to what I can see. Because if I wasn't painting this for you guys, I'd have my nose right down here on the page. And of course, they're going to fine you if you don't have on a mask. They're going to fine you. So more than likely I will just be doing what I do, which is stay home and work. I get the whole mask thing. I get it. But honestly, okay, so I'm not intending to start any kind of discussion here about it. Mostly I'm just rattling to have something to talk about while I'm doing this. Because I can't think of a good story to tell, that's why. I did take painting classes until my painting teacher, I think she moved away. I think that's what happened. I think that's how I ended up not taking classes anymore. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me, was to take those classes. She was such a good teacher. Ugh. Patience of Job, that woman had. Patience of Job, I'm telling you. And this is how all of my palettes end up looking before it's over with. Like little chicken scratches all over my palette, because it's how I get the consistency of the paint that I like for a given task. All right, so he's got his little muzzly thing going on here. Okay. Hi, Margaret. Bye, Gail. Okay, so let's go on to his little chinny chin chin. Now, we're going to see, can I paint this with this big brush? Are we up for a good challenge? Up for a good challenge? Let's see. The question is, can she do it? Can she do it? The thing about painting with these angled brushes that I find is I end up painting with just the corner. Yeah, which is kind of silly. Kind of silly. But if you want to, when I use them for shading or highlighting, then I do use the entire flat of the brush. Oh, what a mess I just made. Oh, yes. So this is where you clean yourself up. I got the brush too wet. Too wet. All right, don't touch that. Don't touch that. It has to dry. She says, trying to remind herself, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Okay, let's, this is a big area we got going on down here. Big area. Whoo-wee. See, I've been able to blend in bits and pieces coming down here, but now we're going to get into where it gets pretty dicey down in here. All right, so this is where his okay. That's right, Anne. It's wet. Don't touch it. It's wet. It's wet. All right, I got to take a break for a minute. Damp brush. Leave the damp brush so I don't pick it up and paint with it. Take a quick break here and have a think. That is the truth, Dana. That is the truth. All right. .230. I'm going to paint for 30 more minutes, so we'll see if we can get, no guarantees, but I'm going to see if I can get the rest of his body in here. I'm going to put some fresh paint on my palette, because seriously, it has already started drying. It's probably because I have a fan on. Although in the winter it's absolutely no better, because in the winter then I just have the furnace to contend with. So yeah, such problems I complain about, such problems. Thank you all for being here today. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. And those of you in the United States, I hope that you have a, albeit an unusual 4th celebration. I hope that you have a, hope you can make it a good 4th. All right, let's go back here. All right, damp brush, leave it alone. Okay, let's go on. Okay, this is really light in here on him, so his muzzle thing comes. I gotta look at my pattern a second. Where's my pattern? What did I do with the pattern? For goodness sakes. Here it is. Just gotta look for a minute. I just gotta put this line back in here because I kind of lost it. Imagine. Okay. All right. Then we got a line coming in here and here and here. I just got to give myself some reference lines because I painted over all of them, or didn't put them in to begin with. That's entirely possible too. Okay, so I've got some reference lines in here now. Hi Sharon, good to see you. All right, back to the painty brush. And all right, so he comes around and comes up. This is kind of a so we got two different things going on here. I'm still missing a line. This needs to come up like this, and this needs to come up like, okay. All right, let's go for it. When I come back in and re-outline all this cat, it will, all the pieces and parts should make sense. Do you notice I qualified that? Like, they should make sense. Understand, this is not meant to be a realistic portrait. It's only kind of, sort of. If I can get it done and it looks kind of like Chance, kind of like, you know, this kind of looks like Muppet. I mean, it's recognizable if you know who she is. Did I ever show you what happened to this? Hold on a minute. I'll show you. I'll tell you. Just a second. I just need to paint this in here so I don't lose it. I don't remember if I told you what happened to this. Can you see all those little speckles on her? See all those speckles? She did not have all those speckles on her after I finished painting her. But you see all that speckled effect? That came because I sprayed over this with matte finish, which is what I do all the time. I spray matte finish on everything, except it was the end of the can. The end of the can, people, and the propellant is what came out instead of the matte finish. Yeah. So, not good. I was so disappointed. Oh man, I was disappointed that that happened. So you know what? You just make peace with the process and move on and go, yeah, that's the way I meant for it to be. I learned about propellants and sprays and all that stuff way back in the day, and it still got me. It still got me. Okay, I'm going to kind of let this line blur between the muzzle and the rest of his face. And although there's not a sharp line between the sides of his nose and down, I may leave that just because I kind of like it. Yeah, it was bad news. Oh, I was disappointed. And I showed it to somebody, a friend of mine who's an artist, and I was lamenting what a big mess I had. And she said, oh, I thought that was a very cool effect. I thought that was what you intended to do. Like, no, not even sorta kinda. Ugh, I was so upset. Not even sorta kinda did I expect that to happen. Anywho, such is life. You move on, right? You just move on. Hello, don't do that. I was going to paint over it and start all over again. She said, oh no, don't do that. If you say so. All right, we'll have to work on that a little bit. Okay, let's go on down past this. So let's do, he's very light down here, so we're just going to go into the light color. The very light color. No, that's enough. Let's put a little bit of, let's see, what do I have? Warm. What color are you? I don't want you. I don't want you. Yeah, light ivory might be okay. All right. Okay, so I've added a little bit to my palette. I have added a little bit of light ivory there. Instead of using white, I'm going to use a little bit of light ivory, just to kind of lighten this gray, but not get it totally white. So again, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me today as we painted Chance the cat, who took a chance. The day that cat arrived, ugh, poor thing. He had no idea what was happening in his life, none whatsoever. The poor thing. The former owner brought them in a giant, and I do mean giant, because she used to have Rottweiler dogs. She brought them in a crate for a Rottweiler. So it took two of us to carry it in. And when we opened the door, Charlie just sauntered out like, hello. What's this? What's this? What's up, everybody? My name is whatever his name was. And is this, I don't know what this is, but I think it's going to be okay. Whatever it is, I'm going to like it here, I think. And he just came out and just looked around, and he was fine. Everything was cool. Chance, on the other hand, this cat was in the back of this giant crate. And he was so petrified. I mean, that cat was so scared. It was so sad. And I could not get him to come out. Not even kind of, sort of. He would not come out. And he stayed in there. He stayed in there for hours and hours and hours. I kept coming in and sitting on the floor by him, because I'd never had a cat that I couldn't eventually get along with, you know. I'm like, well, he's probably going to be okay. And so anyway, I just kept waiting for him to come out. And I had him closed in the room where they stay when I'm streaming. It's where their litter box is and their food and all that stuff is. And so I had him all fixed up. I didn't know she was going to leave him. I really didn't know she was going to leave him. I had gotten supplies for them just on the outside chance that we ended up keeping them, but it's a good thing I did too, because we didn't have any cats at the time, and so I didn't know how this was going to work. And I mean, she flat out brought those cats with all their stuff and left. And I said, well, what if this doesn't work out? And she said, oh, if it doesn't work out, call me. I'll come get him. I'm like, oh, no. Anyway, so hours and hours and hours later, I kept checking on them, kept checking on the cats. And I looked in there, and he was nowhere to be seen. Absolutely nowhere to be seen. Now, this room had no other entrance or exit. Just kind of mush this out a little bit. Couldn't find that cat for anything. Ugh. Some of the wrinkles in here, some of this weirdness you're seeing, I don't know if you're seeing it, I'm seeing it, is coming from the wrinkles in the napkins. Okay, so let me keep working over on this other side. See, I sidetracked myself here. I sidetracked myself. Oh, goodness. All right. Every once in a while when you work with acrylic paint, you have to stop and clean your brush too, because it starts drying in the brush and it gets to be a real mess. I'm just about to that point here. Okay, just hang on a minute. I gotta get some paint over here. I'll try to remember to keep going with the story here in a second. Sorry, I had to turn the book. I just can't get my hand at that angle. And So if you don't want to look at a sideways cat, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you here. So anyway, I couldn't figure out where this cat went. Charlie was just walking around, checking things out. You know, he was exploring his new surroundings. He's like, yeah, cool, okay, it's fine. I like this spot. Could not find that other cat for anything. I don't know where in the world that cat went. Because, you know, there's just a finite number of places that he could be hiding. And I looked all over. Could not find that cat anywhere. So then I have shelves in there, and I couldn't find him on any of the shelves. And so finally I started moving things carefully to see if somehow he'd gotten behind something on one of the shelves. Sure enough, that's what he had done. He'd gotten up on a shelf and he crawled back in behind some boxes. I didn't even know there was enough room. Now, you know the size of these cats. It's like, boy, I didn't know that there was enough room for a cat, let alone these cats. Because they came here fat. Yeah, they came fat and got fatter. Anyway, I found him, and it took a long time for him to, because he just kept finding new spots, just kept finding new places to go, and eventually he came out, and he was the first one to jump into my lap. Before it was all over with. Voluntarily jumped into my lap. Isn't that funny? The one that was so scared is the first one to get in my lap. Well, he's kind of coming together, and at least he's got some shades of gray, so he's not just, I mean, he's gray, because he's a gray cat. You know, he's a Blue Point Siamese. He is gray, man. He is a gray cat. But at least he's got some variety in his coloring. Let's see. So he's still pretty light and kind of in here. So we've got some of this kind of color. I'm just going to slap in some of this gray. Because now time is of the essence down here. In order to blend this, I got to move along. So I got to slap in some colors. Clearly, I'm having to concentrate a little bit. I know. I've never seen so much gray paint in my life. For one project, this is so out of character for me to do gray and taupe. Ugh. Gray, taupe, and brown. There's a color combination for you. Not my preferred color palette. However, that's what color this cat is. Oh, I'm going to have to clean this brush. It's getting bad. Getting bad. All right, I'm just spreading out this ridge of paint down here. All right, I gotta clean my brush because it is bad news. Alright, do you see how this brush is getting that buildup of paint around the ferrule of the brush? Yeah, you gotta stop. You gotta get rid of that. Not gonna get rid of all of it until I really clean the brush. But you gotta get rid of some of it, otherwise the brush is toast. Okay, so let me come back. All right, I'm going to see if I can get the rest of him kind of base coated in. And then I'll come back and I'll putz around with adding the rest of the shading and all that. Okay, so this is really dark gray here. So this is what I'm looking at, kind of going off of this, playing off of this a little bit. So we're gonna come in here. So this is the line, this is his belly and his back, back haunch. So we're just gonna put this in here, because there's a pretty definite line of demarcation there between the leg and the rest of his body. So I can put that right on in there. I'm surprised that this craft paint is covering this background as well as it is. I know I gessoed it, and it wasn't a thick coat of gesso that I put on there, by the way. It was just kind of a thin coat. But surprisingly enough, it has pretty much covered all that napkin stuff other than the texture of the napkin. That is kind of a surprise to me. All right, so then we have kind of a similar thing going on over here. So we're gonna do this over here. This time I'm gonna add just a little bit of a different color just to kind of give it a little variety. So it's not exactly the same as that. I'm not paying too much attention to where the light source is and stuff with this, because it's just a little, it's just a fun little painting of a cat. It's not a fine art painting. If you want to learn fine art painting, I am not your person. I'm so not your person. I'm so not your person. All right, let's kind of blend those together so we don't have a sharp line. There is a line over here, but not on this side. All right, so let's keep going here. This is darker gray than... I had no idea there were so many shades of gray in this cat till I started looking at it. Goodness sakes. Goodness gracious me. So I'm beginning to get less particular about this, because this is going to be fur, so it's going to be easier to communicate that if it's not color blocked in as such. So I would say that it took him a good month before he felt fairly comfortable here. Charlie was comfortable right off the bat. He's like, "Where's the food dish? Where's food? What do you mean we don't have the same kind of food? We like that food. We want that kind of food." You know. That was his big thing. But it took Chance a good month. And he's still skittish. Still to this day, he's kind of skittish. Kind of a skittish kind of cat. Something startles him. Well, the other night, what was funny, I was up here recording, and so I had the door shut. The cats, I finally got to where I would take the cats down into our family room area, which is downstairs from the studio. So I would take them down and give them lap time and house time and all that kind of stuff. And so they were downstairs, and Claus Man was down there. They were watching TV. Well, at some point, Chance decided that he's going to make a break for it and come home. It's like, Lassie, come home. And so he comes running upstairs, and I had the door shut to the studio. Well, that didn't serve well at all. And then Claus Man's trying to corral him, and he came up and was trying to talk to Chance. Chance knows him very well, and he ran from him and ran up the steps into the upper part of the house, into the living room, which is not, we don't use it as a living room, we use it as a photography studio. That term is very loosely used. It's where we have our big camera set up permanently, along with a bunch of other stuff, including my bicycle, and so it's not a living room at all. It's just kind of a overflow room. And so anyway, Chance goes streaking up there, and he's not going to let Claus Man get close to him. He's like, no, you're not touching me. I don't even know who you are. I want to go home. I want to go home. And I'm oblivious to all this because I'm in here recording. And I wasn't going to record very long, so it wasn't like they were going to be shut out for very long. But the point is, Chance had decided he was going home. And he could not get home because the door was closed. And he was up in the upper level in the living room crying. His best mournful Siamese cry. So all you hear, when I opened the door, all I heard was, meow, meow. Oh, he was so pitiful. I'm like, I just want to go home. Someone shut me out of my house. Oh, he was so glad to come home. He ripped down the steps into the studio, and he was home. He was finally safe. Safe at last. Safe at last. Oh, it was very traumatic. It was very traumatic. Poor guy. Claus Man was doing his best to try to get him to understand that it was okay, that he was safe, he was gonna go back home, and wasn't gonna be too long. He was gonna get to go home. He didn't want anything. He just wanted to go home. That's all he wanted. And he got shut out. It's like, yeah, but the rest of the time you're on the steps crying because you want to come downstairs. Crazy cat. Siamese believe that no door should ever be shut unless they shut it. And Chance is very good at doing that. He likes to shut doors. He likes to slam doors, actually. So we have to put door stops on all the doors where he can't reach them. So they're up high, because if they're anywhere where he could reach them, guess what he's going to do? He's going to figure out, that cat is so smart, he would figure out exactly how to undo the stopper. Are you guys doing okay? Because I'm just here rambling away. Clearly I'm not looking at the chat at the moment. I'm just here rambling away. I hope you guys are doing all right. So the upshot of that story is, by the time he got to come home, got back to his safe place, it took him maybe 30 seconds, and he was like, oh, okay, everything's fine. But boy, those few minutes before that, before he got back to his safety, his place of safety, he was one upset cat. One upset cat. It's like, well, a few years ago when you arrived on the scene here, you didn't want to even be here. Now you're crying because you're not home. Oh, cats, they are something, aren't they? They are something else. I'll look back at the chat here in just a minute. I hope everybody's behaving. Oh, this palette's getting to be a wreck. Getting to be a wreck over here. Okay, I'm just kind of dancing between colors here to get a bit of a blend. Before everything gets too sticky and I can't move it anymore. Just softening things up. Sorry, I can't look at the chat for a second. I'll be there in just a minute. Alright, and this needs another coat because I don't know why, but I got this paint way too thin. Okay, whew, that was exciting. That was exciting. There for a minute, I was like, oh, am I going to make it? Am I going to make it before the paint gets so dry I can't move it? Okay, made it. Whew, that was exciting. That was exciting. We made it. So there he is. I'll take out the wax paper so you can see him without being bordered by brown things. And so there he is. I'm going to let it, now I can let it sit because everything's base coated, and I can come back and start playing around with the shading and the highlighting, and then I'll decide if I want to add fur in or if I just want to leave him smooth coated around the outside like he's had a real proper grooming. It's like on Muppet I didn't do a lot of flicking out of the fur around her either, so you know, they're just stylized fun little images. I suppose Charlie's going to demand equal time too, you know. The other thing I was thinking about doing was putting a paintbrush up here, like, you know, the American Gothic. Like he had a paintbrush instead of a pitchfork. Anyway, okay, so I'm back at the chat now. Let's see. Let me come back. Case of baby wipes, Anne. Whoo, case of baby wipes. Jean says, I'm her kind of artist. I don't know what kind that is, but, you know, I'm glad. I'm just checking. Scrolling through the chat here. Your husband has baby wipes in the truck. That is a riot. Ah, it's a riot. I make it look easy. Well, that's good. That's good. All right. You can clearly tell I'm going through the chat. Oh, he has an attitude. He does have an attitude. Anne says, a dog, I have always said, is prose. A cat is a poem. By Jean Burden. Okay, so there is our Chance cat. If you don't know about cleaning brushes, let me get this product that I use. This is what I use most of the time to clean acrylic brushes or any brushes. It will take paint out of your brush. Look at this palette. Is that pathetic or what? All right, we're going to move that mess because there's still some wetness on it. This one is almost used up. So you can put this on your brushes, like right now. I could put it on my brush. Let me move the journal out of the way. So I put it in my hand, which probably isn't the best idea, but that's what I do. I put it in my hand. It is literally pink. I try to get the bulk of the paint out first, just using water. I'm going to get some more brushes here. Some more napkins. And so then I use this and I just work it into the bristles of the brush. So I just work it up into the bristles of the brush, and it will really clean out all that gunk. And now this is not dried in paint, like if you left a brush sitting on a palette and it totally dried with, hard as a rock, then you don't have any choice but to soak it in Murphy oil soap. But I just clean them using pink soap. I clean them under running water and use pink soap. Not the cheapest thing in the world. Does have a nice smell to it. And then when I'm all done, let's say that I'm done and it's clean, which it's not, but we're going to pretend. Okay, we're going to pretend. So we'll say it's all done and I've got all the water, the excess water out. Whoops, hold on a minute. All right, camera, come on. All right, I'm not going to futz around with you. All right. So what I do is I take the brush, and this is all done and clean now, and then I get it full of pink soap, and then I reshape the brush. Okay. And this one has seen better days because it won't even hold the chisel. There's too much dried paint and stuff up inside that. So, well, it's not doing too bad at the moment. But anyway, so shape the brush, and I let it dry with the pink soap inside the brush. So that is how I take care of the brushes. Anyway, there is more information about that on HowToGetCreative.com in the tips and tricks area. If you're a member, you can access those videos. Okay. Oh, thanks, Kathy. That's high praise coming from Kathy Arbor. High praise. Thank you. All right, so I will finish him up. I won't torture you with another session with him. I'll let you see him from a distance so you can see what he looks like so far. So there he is so far. It does pretty much look like him, except he's too thin. We slimmed him down quite a bit. That wasn't on purpose. But anyway, there's that. All right. Any questions from anybody? You can ask classes, you can ask questions here, or you can fill out if you need specifics, real specifics, then go to HowToGetCreative.com and you'll see places on there that say fill out a support ticket. And that's really the best way, because then you get individual answers. That's really the best way. So a support ticket's usually the best place. If it's a simple question, I can answer here. And if you just have general questions about the membership in general, you can find a link in the description box below this video that says sign up here. And there's a video there that'll kind of walk you through all the ins and outs. Okay? Oh, thanks, Jean. Well, that is who I am. I am who I am. Some people like me, some people don't. But that's all of us, right? That's all of us. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. You're welcome, CB. You're welcome. I could have named the cats Chewy and Chase. I could have. So remember the grandmother-granddaughter conversation. The grandmother says to the granddaughter, "What are you drawing?" The granddaughter says, "I don't know. I'm not finished yet." That is the quote. That's the quote of the week. It's the quote of the week. It's going in my journals. It may go in here just because. I don't know. My quote or my words that I use in this journal don't match the pictures at all. It doesn't make any difference to me if they go together or not. All right. So that is that. Thank you so much for being here. And remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy. And I'll see you again next week. And VIP, pardon me, the voice has gone. 2 hours is about my limit. VIP group does not meet tomorrow. It meets next Saturday. Just a reminder. All right, I will see you guys later. Have a great one, everybody. Thanks for being here, and I will see you again before you know it. Bye for now.